Good morning. So I like to get up early in the morning. Some people aren't people. I don't think I used to be a morning person, but became really, come to really love early mornings. So much inspiration that happens because it's like the beginning of a day, which is it's like a pregnancy. It's like the morning holds like the entire day in its womb. It can give birth to so many opportunities, so many things that are there first thing in the morning. Things can go really, really well. They can go bad. Anything can happen at the beginning of the day. By the end of the day, as things drag on and it becomes apparent, like, okay, this is the pattern. This is what's going to happen for the day. And it's just going to, wind down and this will be another day. But, you could characterize it one way or another. But in the morning, wow. So I can't think of a better time in the morning to wake up when no one else is awake and collect your thoughts and um, meditate and developing your own meditation. If you already have one, continuing to do that, but deepening it, expanding on it in ways that I'm getting just one second here. Good question. Got a question. How do you change from a night person to a morning person? That's a profound question because you could say, how do we change from any one of our natures to another nature? A nature from being an agitated person, angry person. There are certain things that are like, really, we have a certain biorhythm and certain characteristics that are built into us that when we fight against them or we try to change them, it actually does create even more disturbances. So that's a great question, um, and it's not an easy answer because it's like, how do you lose weight? How do you, it's really individual on how to do that. And it stems with a deep desire to do something because, as I say, nothing stands in the way of ratzon, of your desire. And if you have a deep, profound desire for something, and if someone told you tomorrow morning, if you get to the Kotel or you get to the airport or you get to Tel Aviv at 5:30 in the morning, there's a suitcase with $1 million waiting for you, an inheritance, and it's going to be delivered to you. I bet you wouldn't. I bet you'd be a morning person all of a sudden the next morning, or if you found out a child was flying in as a surprise, and they were going to be at the airport, you would stay up all night. So it's about if you could tap into your desires, into your deep core, then that's how I would explain how you can change just about anything about yourself is tapping into it. And pathway of meditation allows you to do that. It allows you to tap into these deeper desires, and sometimes you realize you don't want things for what you thought that why you wanted them. So I'm going to move on. I want to actually the subject for this morning I came up with in my um, about an hour ago is and I sent it out on the group, was really about I've been spending some time in outdoors working I'm a photographer and videographer, and connecting with nature and just being outdoors is very profound and in a very unspoken way, a very well fence is falling back. So the the title is really about nature, the intelligence of nature, and synchronizing, becoming in sync. Are we in sync? Are we out of sync with nature? Or is there even such a concept? So I'm not going to talk about facts and absolutes here. And these are ideas to check out for yourself, to really connect with, or not connect with, but you need to try to, any piece of wisdom that someone tries to give you or does give you, you have that aha moment. If you know it's true, if you know there's truth in it, and you have that aha moment, don't just pass that up and say, oh, yeah, yeah. Check that out. Take the time when you meditate next time to check that out in a deeper way because that's really telling you a deeper truth about yourself and reality. So um, there's a quote I read this morning, a book that I'm reading. It says, "Suffering is how life tells you that you are resisting or misperceiving what is real and true. Suffering is how life tells you that you are resisting or misperceiving what is real and true. And I think that's pretty profound. I think it sums up a lot of books that I've read, sums up a lot of maybe the Tanakh. It's pretty profound. And when we push back, when we resist, it creates a lot of disturbance. So let's talk about that and like nature, about the frequency of nature, and we'll get back to what that kind of that quote, the idea. The, let's talk about different things that we know. Like I'm sitting outside this morning. There's a bird chirping. There's patterns. We know. Let's look at a big pattern. Morning and night. Every single day, we know we can count on that. It's going to be day, and the sun's going to come up. There's charts for it. You can go online. It tells you exactly when the sun rises, and the sun's going to set at a certain time. That's a pattern. That's a frequency. A pattern is a wavelength. The top here is going to be day, night, whichever one. But those are patterns. Our heartbeat is a pattern. The wind is a pattern. There's air. There's vibration of air molecules, sound, electricity in our blood on a molecular level. Things are patterns, and we can measure those patterns. And if we can't, we just haven't developed the tools to measure them yet, perhaps. And on the macro scale, if we look into the universe, you see patterns. They have radio telescopes that can see, billions of light years away, not see, but feel the frequencies that are coming from galaxies from far. And the way and patterns of everything is a frequency. And if you look at animals, and I was working with someone yesterday, we were talking about this, about the intelligence of nature, and does intelligence require a brain? Now, you'd say, well, yeah, if you took a brain out of a person, or if a person has a small brain or an incapacitated brain, they wouldn't be very intelligent now, would they? But there are plenty of organisms that don't have brains that are highly intelligent, highly, highly intelligent. You take, for example, the coral reefs. Coral reefs, say the Great Barrier Reef, they do not have a brain whatsoever. They don't have a central nervous system, yet they're highly intelligent. They're an animal. And the way they can communicate with other corals and and fish around them through excreting certain chemicals and certain chemicals that fish can smell, and they can all synchronize when they are going to release their eggs the same time of year. That's highly intelligent things. Birds that migrate, thousands and thousands of miles, they come back to the same place every single year. And so these are just a few of the examples that you've maybe read about, we know, but I want to sort of zone in on the intention for today's meditation by bringing our awareness to think about those things. And I think it's very important, if you want to do this type of a meditation, is reminding yourself, even if you know something to be, you've checked it out and you know it, but when you want to start a meditation, start out by reminding yourself of these things, and it'll develop a certain sense of gratitude, but not in the way that you would thank the birds that migrate 1,000, 2,000 miles for coming back every day, because that would sound kind of silly to thank the birds for that. But there is a certain gratefulness that pattern exists, because everything is so co-related, interrelated, that if the birds didn't do that, or if the coral didn't do what they did, we would be really out of balance. And I don't want to go into any theories or conjecture or anything about what's going on with coronavirus and all that, but because you need to check that out for yourself, but feel the patterns of nature and feel what's going on, and do they feel in sync? Do they feel out of sync? Does your life feel in sync, out of sync? Do your thoughts feel in sync, out of sync? And in meditation, this is a way, and I'm going to say this is a very, very important point before we begin the meditation. This is a very, very important point. You remember the old radios, like my kids probably never saw it, where you actually have a dial on the radio, or a TV where you have a dial, and a TV station where you have to turn the channel, but there was actually a little, I was really small when this, it was a little tuner thing in between. You can kind of fine tune it. But on the radio, fine tune and and then you finally tune into the radio station. And the idea here I'm going to talk about is kavana, or intention, but in the sense of kavana is where our attention is. But think about it in terms of like a radio station where when we have a certain intention, it could be a fuzzy intention where you have static and you can kind of feel or hear something. There's a message there. When we meditate, we're bringing our kavana and we're starting to fine tune that. So we're getting the static, and then all of a sudden, the message and the clarity becomes more and more understandable, intelligible. And meditation, the more we do it and the deeper we can go, we're fine-tuning that, fine-tuning it, we can hear. When we hear, we resonate, we synchronize. We can synchronize with that message because we're not hearing it with our ears or our eyes or any of our senses. We are synchronizing and merging with that. We are realizing that there is no difference, that the ears and the eyes and senses are actually kind of what separates us from that and filter. When we remove that filter, then we say, ah, I get it. I get it. It cannot be put in words. Even words are a filter and distort. So this is our intention for this meditation. A lot of talking, but it's very important that we set that intention, because we're going to, I'm going to actually teach you a tool that you can use that's not so much a meditation, it's a way to synchronize. It's called tapping. A drummer, I saw this on YouTube, I think it was a drummer who came up with this because his head was just like, and he just came up with this on his own, apparently, in order to change his frequency and bring himself into a meditative state. And you could do this on your lap, but I'm going to do this just here on my shoulder so you can see. So you're going to, but you could, lying in bed, I do this with my youngest child, and it works great for her to settle her mind. And so we tap at a certain very fast pace that feels maybe too fast, like out of sync, like this. So tap, 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 tap. And in your mind, you're saying tap, tap, tap. And let's just say tap, 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 tap. We're doing it very fast here. Tap, 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 tap. And over the course of a minute, you slow that down and tap, 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 tap. And your thoughts have to be at the same tap, tap, tap as the physical, as you're feeling it. You have to feel this because you're doing, it's a somatosensory experience here. And we're slowing that down over the course of a minute. So let's do this together. And it could change. It could go fast like this. When you're agitated, it's tap, 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 tap. And it can like this, but keep it fast. That's first. And it's a little out of sync, but it's okay. Just the intention is to slow it down eventually, but kind of let it do its thing within as we're going fast. Tap, tap, tap. I'm saying to myself, tap, tap, tap. Say to yourself, tap, 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 tap. And now bring it into tune it. Tune it in as it's going slower. Tune that radio station. Just tune it. Frequency. Slow. Tap, tap, tap. Now we're bringing in a little bit more control within strong intention. Tap, 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 tap. Find your frequency. You'll find it. Slower, it's a slower frequency. Bring it down. Tap. Feel. If you do it too slow, you'll start to get tired. And that's the point before bed sometimes. But now, we can measure it, we're probably aiming for an alpha frequency here in the mind waves. Okay, so let's continue to find a slower tap and just synchronize with that for a minute here. Tap, tap. Find your pace. Find it. Tune it. Tune it. Tap, tap. Now start to bring your breath into the equation here. You don't have to say tap, tap, tap and breathe because it might be a little challenging to kind of do too much at once. If you can say a mantra or just tap, tap, tap is like a mantra. And breathe in. Just watch your breathing. You don't have to control your breathing. At the same time you're tapping, that's going to become automatic, the tapping. And I want your intention to be on the breath. Breathing in through the nose and out through the nose, just normally, but just breath. You know you're tapping, but your intention, your awareness is on the breath now. And slow it down more with the tapping. In 10 more seconds, we're going to stop the tapping. Just keep on going. And stop tapping. Become comfortable. Just relax your arms at the side or wherever they are. And just be aware of your headspace now. I'm going to be silent for about a minute here. And just notice. Be aware for about a minute here. And coming back to my voice. Okay, maybe you noticed something of a pattern or not. It's just important to be aware of what was there, but not try to change it. Because that's really meditation, is just observing the rate of just the changes that happen. Sometimes we do things to spark our awareness, but then we become just aware of it. It's like throwing a pebble into a lake. You do that once, but then you can just watch the ripples continue on for minutes. And that's what we do with an intention, is we plop a little pebble into that lake and then just watch the ripples. Because throughout our day we have all kinds of debris thrown into our lake. Big, ugly debris, and sometimes feathers fall in, nice, pleasant. And let's just watch the ripples. And those ripples have a frequency, have a vibration, which are called waves. So our intention is just to tune in and to watch the waves of our mind. Just watch with your mind's eye, with your awareness, for a few moments here. And I'm going to give you a metaphorical, so-called pebble that I'm going to throw into your little pond here. That was the pebble. Just watch. You say the word in your mind, love, ahava, whichever language is your mother tongue. Say love with the same pattern for 10 times, but in a pattern like love, 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 or love, 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 or ahava, aha. So do that, and then silence and observe the ripples in your pond. So starting now, and then just give, this will take about a minute. So take the first 10 or 20 seconds to establish the pattern of ahava, 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 or ahava, ahava, and then silence. Watch the ripples. Okay. The words we speak to each other, to ourselves, have frequencies. When we speak kindly, it's kind words. There's a frequency of the words that we use, the choice of words that we use. The intention that we have behind the words has its own frequency, and we can feel very often when someone is being ingenuous, disingenuous with us, or insincere, or conniving, or passive aggressive, not through their words, but through their intention. It comes forth in a frequency, not not necessarily some mystical or ethereal, but sometimes in the tension in the voice, in the intonation of how they say it, or but there's frequencies, there's patterns behind that communication. Unspoken communication, body language, these are all frequencies that we can tap into. And meditation teaches us how to fine tune our awareness, and we can learn how to really communicate with ourselves and others. And communication is listening as much as it is speaking. It is non-doing as much as it is doing. When we're listening, we're in the receptive state, we're in the non-doing state. And when we're speaking, we're in the active state. There's a push and a pull, and there's an ebb and a flow of everything in communication. There's a frequency. And too often, we're in a state of creating waves and creating peaks and not enough troughs. And for good communication to happen, there has to be the silence, the pause, the listening. Listening not only with the ears, but of our awareness. And nature speaks to us through everything, through our cycles, our rhythms, our circadian rhythms, our appetites, our metabolism, menstrual cycles, our happies, our sads, everything. Nature is communicating with us. We are nature. We are not separated from nature. We only think that we are. We think often to ourselves, if I could only do this with my environment, if I could only do that. And that's good sometimes when we're in sync, when we synchronize with that in harmony, because we are not separate from nature. That is our illusion. To control and dominate nature, that's the illusion of our own egos, perhaps. And then we create disturbances in the frequencies. But when we harmonize, then we can listen. We can absolutely communicate. That means that we can also put forth our intentions, but we can also respect the silences. Take the next few moments and just silence meditation to yourselves. Aware of the frequency, the patterns, the breath. Okay, coming back to my voice, bring your awareness back to my voice. You can gently open your eyes. Welcome back to a place you never left, right here. So I hope this was a practical, useful, meditative experience. A lot of talking, a lot of explaining, more than I would like in a meditation session, but I think it's very important to, if you're serious about meditation, about really getting involved in anything, and going back to the first question about sleep, um, how do you become a morning person? That's a frequency. That's a, if you tune in and you put your intention and you have an intention, why do I want to become a morning person? And not force it, because when you force it, you're being the speaker, you're being the active. But put in the intention is here, listen, harmonize. This is your metabolism. Synchronize with it. And sometimes you'll realize, I don't, maybe not a morning person doesn't matter. Just listen, harmonize. Don't push back so much. And that's with everything in life. And joy in our day, I think, would be dependent upon not joy. Because if we only had joy, then what would we have? So that's also a frequency. Joy is a frequency. And I'm wishing you, everybody, a wonderful, wonderful day full of all sorts of surprises and all the good, bad, ugly that comes with the day. Just take it all in, because this is life. And life is a beautiful thing when we live it and we don't obsess about it, when we can just have a smile on our face and say, yeah, it's going to be okay. It is okay.